right? So I'll say that again because definitions are really important. It's all the unspoken assumptions and beliefs that dictate how a situation unfolds. So wherever you go in life, there's always kind of this underlying frame. So if you what I'm going to go over is frames. So let me, I guess, frame this conversation, right? So I looked at my numbers the other day. Off of cold email specifically, I closed $504,000. And part of how I did that, coming from taking someone, so let me back up again. There's two skills that I think you need to have to get over $30,000 a month. One is being able to cold prospect, go out to a market cold, someone that doesn't know you, whether that's a cold call, whether that's a cold email, get that person, have them book it on your calendar. The next skill you need is sales. So really what makes that whole process work is framing. So let me explain to you what frames is. I'm gonna go off some notes I have on my phone. So what a frame is a frame is all of the unspoken assumptions and beliefs that dictate how a situation unfolds, right? So I'll say that again because definitions are really important. It's all the unspoken assumptions and beliefs that dictate how a situation unfolds. So wherever you go in life, there's always kind of this underlying frame. So if you go to Starbucks, right? Like me and Dan, we go to Starbucks, we are in the frame of the customer. It also dictates what behaviors are acceptable and what behaviors aren't acceptable. For example, what is not acceptable is for us to go behind the barista and make ourselves a coffee, right? Or do a quad shot, which is Dan's favorite, by the way. So over ice. There you go. So that's unacceptable because again, the frame allows, and I'll go through some more notes here. Inside a frame, it is understood what is allowed and what is not allowed, what acceptable behavior is and what unacceptable behavior is. Same thing on, like, if, we're not allowed to go, if we go into a bank, we're not allowed to touch the money in the back. The teller is. They're in the they're in the employee frame. So I'm going to give you a couple examples so you guys get the idea. It's kind of the frame around the situation. What are those? And most of the time they're subconscious, right? People aren't thinking about it. For example, another example is when you go into a nice fancy restaurant, the unspoken assumption and belief is that they are going to seat you and give you a menu. That's kind of normal. It's kind of like what's going on in your head of how you think a situation is going to unfold. Yep. Now, if you do not, let's bring this into marketing sales, right? Sales specifically. If you do not bring in any frame into that situation, you have the default frame of the situation. The default frame is usually that of kind of the Glengarry Ross, what is it? Glenn Ross, right? Yeah. Which is, you are the salesperson, you are of lower status, you are trying to get something from them, they are of higher value and you are of lower value. So I don't know if you guys want to type in the chat, but what are some of the default frames in a sales and marketing situation, right?
Well, I know for sales, for sure, when I worked in the car business, it's like who lives on the bottom of the ocean? It was like car salesmen, used car salesmen, and attorneys.
Yep.
You got two of them in this house right now. but so the frame, when people would walk into the car, when this is years and years ago, but when people would walk in, they were instantly like, you're a car salesman, like, get the hell, and rightfully so, by the way, because it's highly aggressive. It's highly predatory is probably the right word. It's just an industry where it breeds a lot of kind of uncomfortableness. And so that would be a frame. I know probably everyone thinking here is like, that's the framework that they think about when they go and buy a car. It's like, I don't want to be here. Yep. I don't want to talk to you for sure. And get away from me. Like, I'm just looking.
Yep.
It's just like, so car sales for me was really big because it taught me how to deal with even people with this super bad framework about who I was. It took some framing in my mind, some different word tracks in my mind that allowed me to kind of separate myself from the average person.
Yep.
And do things that were very unaverage, things that were pattern interrupts for people that were walking into the dealerships. For instance, when someone will walk in, I might not introduce myself as a salesman. Yep. I might say, hey, let me go get you a salesman. Actually, you know what? Tell you what, I'll take care of you right now. So instantly they're like, this guy's not even a salesman.
Yep.
He's a manager, even though I wasn't. I
Yep.
was just saying, let me go get you one, even though I was one. So
Yep.
I took and I positioned myself up instantly.
Yep.
Take away their frame from them.
Yep, exactly. And again, what Dan said is totally right. What frame you're in, one of the biggest things that I've seen working with salespeople, helping other salespeople, is it's not the words come out of what frame you say, and I'll explain what I mean more by that as we kind of go through. But one of the biggest concepts about framing, and this is social dynamics 101, is when two frames collide, the stronger frame will always absorb the weaker frame, right? And that you see that with powerful leaders, right? Most people in life in general don't have
dogs too.
a very strong frame. They don't.
They're weak.
So they have weak frames because they have a weak thing of reality. That is why whenever a situation happens, the stronger frame will always take out the weaker frame. So now I'll bring this to understand that rule, understand what a frame is, and understand what the default frames are. Now we'll get more proactive. What frames do you want to be setting whenever you go through like what is your mindset? What are the frames that you want to set? Because again, if you don't set a frame, it's going to be the default frame of the situation. We also know that if your frame is extremely strong, it's going to overtake the weaker frame, right? So part of what and Dan saw me do this, Dan does this incredibly well as well, but when you prospect and get them on the phone, you can flip that frame, right? So the frame that I think is one of the best frames to set as a salesperson is what I call the doctor frame, right? So exactly.
There we go.
Right? So the doctor frame now changes the total dynamic. The doctor frame is this. You know what is best for the client. You're the authority. You have more information than them. When you go to the doctor, right, you know that they know best. Two, it's a diagnostic sales process, right? They're not going up. You don't go to the doctor and say, hey, what's the price of this? You know the way it's going to roll is they're going to diagnose what your issue is because they are the expert, right? Number two is, the doctor's going to figure out what is wrong with you. And then number three, the doctor also knows that their medicine is amazing, okay? And if they are a good fit, you are going to prescribe them the medicine. The doctor's going to prescribe you the medicine. And if they don't take that medicine, their whole life is going to change. Their whole life is going to change in a very positive way. They're going to get their problem fixed. But if they don't take it, they're going to stay stuck in that horrible predicament. And it's only going to get worse as time goes by.